With the NFL season quickly approaching and a lot of details still to work out between the league and the players, one idea that has been pitched is the idea of player opt-outs. Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, if you like this content, I also do a live stream every Monday night, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Also, don't forget to check out Matt O'Leary's podcast. That comes out on Monday. I will be featured on that with him, and we were talking a little bit about the Jamal Adams controversy, and potentially this is a little bit more add-on to that potential video. So I'll leave that there. You can check that out. But let's talk about the NFL player opt-outs that have been proposed by the NFL. Still has not been accepted by the Players Association. I'm sure there's still going to be some discussions going back and forth, but let's kind of take a look at this proposal and what does it mean for the NFL. So the basic gist of this is that a player who has health concerns or is worried about the safety of their families, that kind of thing, is going to have the option to opt out of the 2020 NFL season. Now, for this to happen, the player would need to notify the team in written form by August 1st at 5 p.m. That would make the player ineligible for return in the 2020 season. So once you decide to opt out, you cannot come back in the season. You can still be traded, so there is, that little caveat, but that player, if traded, is not allowed to play in the 2020 season. So you'd be out that entire year. Your contract would then toll for an entire season. So we were discussing this in my last video, but now it seems like there's a little bit more of an idea. Basically what would happen is if, say, Jamal Adams has 2 years left on his deal and he decided to opt out of the season, his fourth year and fifth year of his rookie contract would toll, and he would then start his fourth year of his contract in 2021. There would be no penalties for players that decide to opt out, aside from just not getting paid for this year. They would receive a $150,000 stipend for the season. If they were paid bonuses prior to now, they wouldn't get that. If they have not received bonuses, they would receive the $150,000 stipend, and that would count as a advance on your 2021 base salary. So players that are in the last year of their contract, players like Brashad Perriman, Brian Poole, Jordan Jenkins, those kinds of players would not be eligible for this $150,000 stipend, which means if they did not receive a bonus, which they probably signed when they got their contract at the beginning of this year, they would not receive that $150,000 stipend. One thing to note, that if a player does decide to opt out, they are not allowed to renegotiate a contract with their team until after the 2020 season. So let's use this for example. Jamal Adams decides to opt out because he doesn't want to play for the Jets this year. Now, he is not allowed to renegotiate a contract with the Jets. Even though he can be traded to another team like Dallas, he would not be allowed to renegotiate a long-term deal with Dallas either until after the end of the season. Now, all that being said, our good buddy Connor Rogers, who joined the Monday Night Call-In show a few weeks ago, tweeted the other day, while he wants a contract extension or trade before the season begins, I'm hearing Jamal Adams is expected to report to Jets camp. Now, that's a good thing to hear. You want to see Jamal start to get integrated back in, and I know I've been critical of Jamal, but I do really want to see him in green and white. I want to see him here long term. I want to see the Jets lock him up. I just want him to want to be here. But we're not talking all about Jamal here. Let's talk about who this could kind of affect. And one player in mind is players that are on, playoff caliber teams that could really impact their team this year if they were to hold out. A player like Dalvin Cook, for instance, someone who has made it very vocal that he just wants a reasonable deal. He doesn't want to play for the relatively small amount of money for the amount of times that the Redskins that the Vikings are going to be running him up the middle. So if Dalvin Cook decides to say, hey, look, I would like my contract extension, or I'm not going to play in the 2020 season. Now, he can do that. He's not going to get paid, but for his health concerns, maybe that's the way he wants to do it. And the Vikings, while losing Dalvin Cook, may not be able to make the playoffs, or at least may have their playoff, hopes and dreams kind of crushed, or at least their championship caliber dreams hoped and crushed. And then you're paying, Kirk Cousins a crazy ton of money without his star running back. So Dalvin Cook's an interesting sort of situation here, and you might see players start to do this. But given the shelf life of all these players and the lengths of their careers, I think they're probably going to opt on taking this salary. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. As far as the Jets go, I don't know if there's a player that I see at like a really big position that I think would probably want to opt out. I think all the players are going to want to play. And that said, there's still a lot of discussions. It looks like there's potential plans for the NFLPA to go back and say, hey, well, we want to be able to opt back into the season maybe halfway through once we see everything's going on and know what the testing procedures are like, know what the the concerns are and the logistics and everything like that. So I think this is still far from over, but I do think the NFL is probably in a good spot to allow players, hey, look, if you have health concerns, not a problem, stay home, we'll work on the contract next year. Now, do the players like that? Probably not. They don't want their contract at all. I'm sure they would want to get paid for this entire season because they're going to argue that their 2-year contract, Jamal's 4th and 5th year options say. He's going to say, well, I was under contract for 2020 and 2021. Why shouldn't I, get paid for that? So there's going to be negotiations back and forth between the NFLPA and the NFL owners and everything like that. And we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. So guys, let me know what you think of the player opt-out clause. Would you like to see this for the players? Do you think there's any players in specific that you see taking advantage of this rule or policy or whatever you want to call it? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, go Jets.